But, yes, we...
Hey, son, the ball's coming in. Get your head on that, mate.
Me against... What? My daddy...
Flipping heck. How am I going to do Project Harry Kane if he can't head the ball? And if I actually want him to win things? So picture the scene, yeah, I've put a class ball into the box and he's not anticipated it at all. Our son has type 7 concussion and internal bleeding. Give over, that's when our blood's supposed to be. Darren, I'm leaving you. Yo guys, it is your boy Niran here, and you are watching FTW. This, of course, the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. But what's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, in the news, and a Chinese space probe brought back the first ever samples of the far side of the moon. First time ever, you know. How hard is it, man? Just wait for it to turn around. Alright, boom, so here what, yeah? If a train is going at 86 miles an hour over a 48-kilometer journey, but the train is red, I can't wait to see this sample, you know. There is going to be confusion when it has MITRE written on the side of it. On to the football though now, and Euro 2024 is in full swing. And what a tournament it's been so far. Late drama, wonderful goals, and surprising results. But there were none of those things in England's game versus Slovenia.
Nah, I never knew that.
Now going into this one, England had created the third least amount of chances at the tournament of anybody. England fans would take anything they would get, celebrating against Denmark with such vim that one supporter snapped his ankle in the crowd. That's the only reason we didn't score again, you see. We were thinking the welfare of the supporters. There was a lot of negativity going into this one after the 1-1 draw. Things like, we don't fucking attack, or Gareth Southgate was in Al-Qaeda, or England were better at soccer aid. But it was a chance to right the wrongs of the group stages so far, which is exactly why we did the exact same thing. The scoreline here was 0-0. England producing and creating far too little and unable to beat Slovenia's low block. There was no extra time in the first half. Do you understand how mad that is? The referee had seen enough.
You do seriously surprise me. You surprise me how shit you are.
I tell you what, when half-time arrived, I had to get a special drink out to accompany the match. England fans were practically giving their tickets away in the interval.
Here you go, mate. Go and see the second half. It's shit.
It's so mad. I celebrated a good passage of play in the first half here. Gareth Southgate is not getting anywhere near enough out of these players. I know a lot of people are saying England's squad is overrated. I think there's an argument to say that it is after the performances so far, because it's not just on him. But Conor Gallagher was somehow worse than Trent Alexander-Arnold had been in the centre-mid role. And the subs and changes that this man is making are completely useless. The sub that imploded last year had better structural integrity. Cole Palmer was once again bored on the bench. He might as well start learning German at this point. So when he starts hitting level 3 German words, it's gonna get a little bit more confusing for him.
Rindfleisch-Etikettierungsüberwachungsaufgabenübertragungsgesetz.
What?
Kobe Mainu, in fairness, coming on at half-time, improved things. I want to see him start genuinely the next game. But Anthony Gordon on the 89th minute. For what? What's he going to do in that time? The only good passage of play, as I said, was a disallowed goal for Bukayo Saka in the first half, which finally saw some pace and fluidity. But honestly, we're so cumbersome on the ball. We don't progress the ball forward anywhere near quickly enough. England midfielders are extremely disappointing when there's a chance for a quick breakaway. Jude Bellingham's highlights were a shocker. Put a shirt on and get to work, brother. At least Jack Grealish will be having a great time in Ibiza, seeing us be wank without him. And spare a thought for some of the supporters going out to the tournament having to watch this. An Everton fan and an England fan. How does this man survive? Other supporters were falling asleep at the break, and that really does sum it up. Genuinely, we're going to have to improve so much into the knockout stages if we actually want a chance of making it far. Far too slow in the build-up, far too cautious, and not even slightly getting the best out of the likes of Saka, of Kane, or of Phil Foden. There was chaos in Group B, however, as a last-minute goal from Mattia Zaccani secured Italy's passage into the knockouts and ended Croatia's Euros hopes. It was hard take for Modric and co, who could well be playing in his final tournament for the nation. He was given man of the match, though I don't think that's going to cushion the blow. You gotta just tell the photographers to start allowing it, you know. He actually missed a penalty in this one, but struck immediate redemption with a goal 2 minutes later, making him the oldest Euro scorer of all time. And on the topic of that, you know, with them basically going home now, Croatia's midfield leaving the tournament was a sight to behold. Darling, I've played with Perisic since 1953. 3-3. To be fair, they brought it upon themselves. These guys completely fall apart when a game heads into the 90th minute. It was the first ever goal for Italy as well for Matteo Zaccagni here, and it was a beauty to stay in the tournament late on. Warren Punter won't have as many good things to say about him after being denied a serious payout on a bet that would have come through if he'd taken his shirt off for the late celebration. One Italian player was getting a little bit too excited at the late goal here, I'm not gonna lie.
This is massive!
Meanwhile, Calafiori, the centre-back from Bologna, has been so impressive during this tournament. His statistics were great again. Croatia needed England to win by 3 goals if they wanted to make it through as a best third-place team. Luka Modric, and he was depressed seeing the news that a side led by Gareth Southgate had to score 3 goals in a game. We could have been 2-0 up here though, but remembered Croatia dumping us out of the 2018 World Cup. Jordan Pickford taking matters into his own hands to increase Slovenia's goal difference. The King of Spain was surprised finding out that Lamine Yamal was in fact 16, given how good he is, but the King of Spain's a fucking casual, mate. Speaking of Yamal, and Albanian fans were begging for some points here to try and keep their hopes alive against an already qualified Spain. They even offered to help Lamine with his homework for a win. They were ready to take a physics exam for him. Alright, boom. So when a force is forcing, yeah, bear speeding up. But love to Albania, honestly. A chaos side that the streets will not forget. Eastern Europe has done some sensational things for the Euros this time around. There was the late show for Scotland too, though. But this time, it ended in depression.
Oh, jeezy bitch.
Scotland packed their bags and are already home from Euro 2024. They've seen their families, bro. This was just a long weekend away. After a 1-0 defeat to Hungary, courtesy of a 100th minute heartbreaker. This game, however, was overshadowed by a horrific injury to Hungary's Barnabas Varga, who was collected by Angus Gunn after a free kick accidentally. Now, the scenes were very distressing on TV. Sheets were put up to hide him from the crowd. Not that that created much urgency for the people holding the stretcher, Dominik Szoboszlai having to run and grab it off them. The head of stretchering department for UEFA is not rushing if life-saving CPR is needed. TNT Sports were very wrong in their tweet, talking about a fatal collision. Do they actually know what the meaning of fatal is? I know a gun usually leads to fatalities, but not in this situation. Thankfully, sorry, I'm joking. I really should not be. Barnabas Varga was okay. I mean, obviously, he's injured. He broke bones in his face after the collision with Angus Gunn's elbow. Apart from the stretcher pace, I thought the incident was dealt with really well. There was a replay on BBC from like the overall live Euros feed before it was actually confirmed that he was all right. A picture, though, has been posted of him recovering in hospital, and thankfully, we should see a full recovery soon because it was a very scary situation. Now, before this one, and Dominik Szoboszlai was doing some modelling, he was not taking things seriously as he's about to line up for the most important game of his career. His opposite number, Scott McTominay, picked up a yellow card that would have seen him suspended and missing the next game, like the rest of his team as it so happens. And the goal that put Scotland out, honestly, the limbs from the Hungarian fans were top quality. The haters said that Scotland couldn't do it, and the haters were right. I'm not gonna lie to you, because if you bought a Scotland shirt for the Euros, you could still return it for free. It's within the window. And upon leaving their hotel, they received a classic Bavarian goodbye from a band on either side that only seemed to make things worse. The thing is, it's so sincere, which I think genuinely makes the situation so much funnier. Tom and Jerry looking music in the background. Now, I do feel bad for Scotland, but they just ultimately didn't really do enough. The Germany performance was about as bad a start as you can get. What it does mean, though, is Adam Martin is through. He wouldn't have let them go out anyway, let's be real. Germany, of course, joined Hungary, qualifying from that group. They were already through anyway. Germany and Spain, interestingly, were the first to qualify for the round of 16. Japan will have been licking their lips hearing this one before realizing they're not actually in Europe. One man trying to get the vibes going though before kickoff was this German supporter with a saxophone. Legend. I need to see him doing this outside of every game. He could be a serious hero. Meanwhile, food wars were continuing, as German fans were suggesting that bratwurst is better than fondue. That wasn't stopping Swiss supporters getting the Swiss cheese out on the stairs. This man's stomach's going to be sounding like an AK-47 during the match. But it was Switzerland's players firing at first versus Germany, as they took a surprise lead here. Antonio Rudiger kept the Swiss forward onside because of his run style. He could be seen running away from the VAR screen after being found out. Going forward, and Germany weren't really firing here either, as Kai Havertz brought out the 6-star skill moves. But luckily for Julian Nagelsmann, he called up Bayer Leverkusen players, which means they can score in the 27th minute of injury time. In this situation, though, it was Dortmund's Nicholas Füllkrug, and Borussia Dortmund's admin was acting up, showing a scan of an interesting area of Füllkrug's body on Twitter.
See that chap over there? Get your hand off my penis!
Now, chaos has been going on in Group F, and that's via Portugal and Turkey first up, where Turkey were cooked by Ronaldo's Portugal. The final score was 3-0 here, thanks to some horrible defensive moments. Now, before kick-off, and Turkey's manager was getting into the stadium before being asked for ID by security. Meanwhile, for Portuguese mascots, and they couldn't believe who they were stood in front of. As for Ron at kick-off, though, he jumped the gun again. I'm gonna have to give you a drive-through penalty, Ron. One man working in a TV shop was pictured watching this game. Everyone across the world was tuning in to see an absolutely horrible own goal.
That was shit.
As a blind back pass was sent beyond the Turkish goalkeeper, leaving this fan somehow not the most red-faced in the stadium. Akaydin here literally done everything in this match but help his own team. Back with Ronaldo, and he was breaking ankles for Portugal's third goal, squaring it across. You can't trust the Turkish man with cane rows, by the way. That's why that's happened. The one kid ran onto the pitch to get a selfie with Ronaldo and avoided the stewards whilst doing it. They managed to evade them whilst running onto the pitch as well. Somebody signed this kid up. He's got pace and agility. He was apparently punished by stadium staff afterwards. What did they do? What, throw him onto the naughty step? Revoke his favourite yogurt? Meanwhile, at full time, and there was even more damage being done, as Gonçalo Ramos was tackled by a steward. That poor steward's gonna have a tough time working outside the stadium after getting a suspension and red card, though VAR wasn't quite as favourable on Gonçalo. Yeah, so he was in high vis, mate, so realistically, you should have seen him coming. Now, though, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for, because over in Romania, and Belgium faced off against our favourite adopted sons this week. Only, unfortunately for Romania, it ended in a 2-0 defeat to the group favourites. It was a relatively simple win for Belgium, 2-0 the final score, but another frustrating day at the office for Romelu Lukaku. His VAR disallowed goals tally would put him top of the scoring sheets right now. If he understood the offside rule, he'd still probably be frustrating as hell, because 88% of the time, Lukaku is off 100% of the time. This, though, is the closest offside you're ever gonna see. If he put actual football boots on and not Timberlands, he would have been on. I told you, he's doing it for Congo, guys. He's getting his revenge for Belgium.
Today I feel African.
Now, this result, amongst others, puts this group into a very unique situation, whereby if Romania and Slovakia play out a goalless draw, they would both go through without any shadow of a doubt. Am I sensing some Romanian corruption?
Match fixed.
Well, allegedly, it's already been spoken about and potentially guaranteed, but that's just some random source. Personally, for me, I'm putting a bet on a 0-0 draw immediately. Put Lukaku up front, and you're guaranteed for it to be 0-0, lads. Those suspicions are going to be raised when a Romanian forward blazes a penalty over the bar in the 94th minute. But in even better Romania this week news, they decided against the purposeful 0-0 draw. Still drawing, in fairness, but at least going for it. 1-1 the final score v Slovakia, which means Romania top a European Championship group for the first time ever. I could not be more proud. I am officially Romanian now. Now, France versus the Netherlands was, well, a snooze fest. The biggest games have been some of the worst in this tournament, to be honest with you. Kylian Mbappe was benched going into this one after the broken nose that he picked up against Austria, and he was getting bullied for his mask in the warm-up. He did make it onto the pitch eventually, looking a little bit better than he did pre-kickoff. But he couldn't help France get the breakthrough, and somehow they didn't score in this situation. How? I will never know. The recreation of the situation goes absolutely crazy. And it's into Antoine Griezmann! Poland were already out by this point, the first team in the tournament to hit the stairs. Lewandowski was playing charades beforehand, and he had Harry Potter on his post-it note. Quite accurate, because he's going to need magic if they're going to progress from here. This game also saw perhaps the worst view any fan has had to put up with all tournament. You know what, darling? I can't wait to see some Poles today. You know what it is? I meant Polish people, not like metal beats. These lot, genuinely, I mean, obviously, they were without Lewandowski for the first two games. They were always going to struggle, but they really did sack off proceedings about 3 minutes into the overall tournament.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I give up. Well played, guys.
Thankfully, though, the final round of games in this group were way more entertaining. An absolutely incredible ending to it, honestly, because Austria provided a turn-up for the books to top it. They won 3-2 against the Netherlands in easily a top 3 match of the tournament so far, holding more leads in this game than the RSPCA. Daniel Donyell Marland provided one of the maddest own goals of the tournament so far, of which there's been many. Cody Gakpo will be scrapping with Donyell in the car back home. This was an ex-United players derby, by the way. We had Wout Weghorst on the scene, Marcel Sabitzer, and it was Sabitzer who ended up getting the winning goal. Austria won the group because France bottled a 1-0 win against Poland to draw against bottom of the group. Kylian Mbappe would start this game after his nose injury, but it wasn't stopping supporters wanting to wrap him up in a little bit of bubble wrap. Meanwhile, one Polish company actually made a mask for him that was themed like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Yeah, it's a shithousery award from these lot. But that shithousery wasn't going to stop Kylian Mbappe opening the scoring and grabbing his first ever goal in a Euros tournament, which is good because they wasn't giving goals to anybody else in this one. Only for Deo Maguire to give Poland a penalty of their own.
Maguire.
That gave Lewandowski a goal and some false hope, only to be TikTok dancing on the plane back home. Shout out though to Austria, an unbelievable achievement to win that group given the Netherlands and France are in it. And we will forget about my prediction for the group. Didn't happen, get what I'm saying. I mentioned Donyell Marland combining with own goals here. They have been going crazy in this tournament. They're top of the Golden Boot chart, for fuck's sake. Liverpool will be bidding, well, knowing us, probably about 12 shillings for this incredible striker. Elsewhere at the Austria camp, and David Alaba is of course out injured, but he's still there with the rest of the squad. He received a birthday cake from the rest of the team. We love to see it, nice and wholesome. Meanwhile, Kim Jong-un and Ukraine's president were in attendance for Ukraine's match this week. Yeah, and interestingly, they obviously look alike. Pretty fitting, given the nuclear state that group is in. Now, over in South America, we've got even more football.
The football is officially going on forever.
The Copa America has started, guys, and honestly, if it wasn't for the time zones, I'd be watching this potentially over the Euros. The Copa America's vibes, yeah, in comparison to European Championships, are unmatched. It is just chaos ball all over the gaff and scrapping. Argentina, the reigning champions, got things kicked off, and they did so with a 2-0 win. Now, before the game, Argentina fans were singing happy birthday to Lionel Messi in the streets, and that support carried on into the stadium, flooding through the turnstiles. Over on American TV, though, and for their Copa America coverage, they think there's a new Lionel Messi entering the field.
There's nobody like Messi, and I don't think that there ever will be somebody like Messi. It's a generational talent. It's like Maradona, and then Messi has just had that. But there's other players, Jude Bellingham, you know, Pulisic's coming up.
I give up, man. This has to be like, it's a paid ad or saying
LeBron James of soccer.
This is Christian Pulisic product placement. Why are you putting him there? He's 25. Julian Alvarez would score the first goal of the tournament. Though at full time, the guy looked like he had a hickey from Luis Suarez. Imagine trying to explain that to the girlfriend. This guy got a massage from Wolverine, bro. Now, on the theme of Argentina, Lionel Messi was talking about his competitiveness this week, suggesting that he finds it even difficult to lose to his kids. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a touch of the tism. This guy is outrageous. What are you talking about? He takes matters into his own hands when his son is 1-0 up on FC 24. Oh, thanks for letting me score, Dad. This is the best day of my life. Leo, it's just a game. You didn't have to. Why have you free kicked him into the top corner like that on the volley? And he will be left devastated when his kid eventually grows taller than him. However, for Brazil, and they started off Copa America very disappointingly with a 0-0 draw to Costa Rica. Now, the country legalized weed for personal use, and I can't lie, they were all smoking it for this game. Genuinely a shambles for them, and a far cry from the Brazilian golden generation and teams of old. Yeah, Ronaldinho was right about this squad, I'm not gonna lie. He'll be licking his lips, seeing himself proved right by Central American dishwasher repairmen. Neymar was stressed up in the crowd watching his team fall apart, and there's only one man that can save them from this trouble and strife. No wonder the game ended 0-0, by the way. The managers cancel each other out, for fuck's sake. Meanwhile, for Endrick, he came on late in the day and looked like a cartoon character on arrival. Now, this week, he came out in an interview and said that he's got news that is going to shake the entire world of football. The news is, he's actually 42. He was there when Pele was banging in goals. He talks about footballers from the 70s and when he was young, more than enough for him to actually have a free bus pass. So Richarlison is not with the squad. He was instead bringing out the Sue celebration in the Tottenham gym. Yeah, that's the wrong Ronaldo. You're meant to be R9, you see. Neymar won't have enjoyed Brazil's performance, but he was at least being wholesome out in the streets of Brazil. Buying a bootleg shirt from sellers on a street corner by leaning out of his window, they couldn't believe who they were speaking to. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the streets, and Neymar Senior is bringing out the skill moves. Yeah, honestly, the way way Brazil played against Costa Rica, slap him down the right-hand side. He'll do a job. Speaking of doing a job, and Darwin Núñez has been killing it for Uruguay recently. He might have been frustrating domestically for Liverpool, especially in the second half of the season, but his goal-scoring record for his country is extremely impressive. He had Uruguay fans turning into Shrek, for fuck's sake, in the crowd in pure enjoyment. He'll be airing Liverpool fans that have beefed him all season when they tried to congratulate him. For Colombia at Copa America, they were victorious in their first game. The highlight, though, this interesting free kick run-up technique. A funeral in South America is not going to stop people from watching Copa America as well. I mean, yeah, well, it's probably what he would have wanted, to be fair. But it does seem a little bit distracting from the task at hand. Yes, obviously we are here right now on stream to commemorate, oh, thank you very much, Carlos, for the gifted, the life of Juan, who was sadly taken far too soon. Juan, have you got anything to say to the chat? Yeah, no fairs. Yeah, he was always the shy and quiet type. Meanwhile, ticket providers are making a killing as well, given the ticket prices for the US versus Panama here, which are more expensive than Champions League final tickets. I mean, whoever is in charge of doing this, I'm guessing it's the US Football Association, they are fleecing their fans. Meanwhile, it might all be about South American flair, but it's great to see a little bit of Brexit commentary making its way into the tournament over there.
Tenemos un maldito problema, doctor. Se está lesionando el capitán. In English, we have a fucking problem.
Now that it's time for your goals of the week, we've got some more sensational strikes for you. And we stay in South America for the first one in Brazil, down in the lower leagues, where Gabriel Kenji has picked up the ball on the right-hand side and cut in, unleashing a powerful strike right into the top corner. Over in Japan, in the J-League, a corner's being swung into the box only to be cleared away, but only as far as Ko Matsubara, who returns it with interest. And finally, we're back in the US, where there's been quite a lot of goals of the week recently, and there's no exception this time around in the USL Championship, as Bruno Lapa sees the goalkeeper well off his line from the halfway line and launches it over the top of him. Hello all and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty. You have no balls! And that concludes The Beautiful Game. Now, closer to home, and the hacker at Footy Leaks has confirmed or claimed that he's got significant heat on Manchester City, and the information in regards to the 115 charges hanging over the club's head will find its way to the local authorities. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got them. Until Man City's lawyers come out to turn off his Wi-Fi again, nothing's gonna happen, lads. Let's be totally real. I'm pretty sure they can't even use hacked information like that anyway. But let's be honest, Man City will get out of this. A, because they're too much of a big side to get relegated like that, and B, because of alternative means.
The secret ingredient is crime.
Now, Chelsea's home kit has been allegedly leaked as well for next season, and I'll be totally real with you, it is an absolute disaster.
What's that, brother?
Just when you thought things were on the up for them, they've produced a kit that looks like a lava lamp. Meanwhile, at Liverpool, and it's all changed there, of course, Arne Slot is our official manager at this point, and personally, I'm very excited already, because he has the superhuman power to split into 3 different people. You're looking like them bald Pokemon. Now, over in Spain, and congratulations to Malaga, a side that once had a lot of spending power and were sitting in La Liga with the likes of Isco. Well, they've had a pretty dramatic fall from grace and ended up playing down in the 3rd division. They got themselves promoted back to the 2nd tier with a last-minute goal to win 4-3 on aggregate. The scenes inside the stadium were absolutely mental. Fans and the players were going crazy, and fans were even celebrating up to 5 AM to welcome the players back from the airport. Truly wholesome stuff. I hope to see them do well next season. Meanwhile, over in Italy, and Claudio Ranieri might have retired from management, but he's picked up a whole new job. You can hire him to perform baptisms. I mean, the work he did at Leicester was from God himself, pretty much, so this doesn't really surprise me. Now, over in America and in the MLS, we have unlocked a new type of referee, the drama student.
After review, there was no offside offense. However, prior to the goal, there was a foul committed by St. Louis. The final decision is direct free kick.
You know, this is crazy. Bro fooled the entire stadium into thinking that it was going to be a goal and the offside had been ruled off. This might be the first ever refereeing shithousery award. That's crazy. It's all well and good, by the way, until Michael Oliver does this in the Premier League and I'm setting off a car bomb outside the stadium. Anthony Taylor's going to be having a pretty difficult time trying to explain why he's violated 57,000 Chelsea fans at the same time.
Hey, Jim, they're doing the work, they're doing and they're forced.
If a linesman starts putting up his flag, and then he's mic'd up and says, nah, only joking, he's getting tackled by players, I'm telling you now. To be honest, the reasons in the Prem would be wholly different anyway. But I have checked my bank account, and therefore it is a Manchester City penalty. Now, over in Turkey, and Jose Mourinho led his first training sessions as Fenerbahce boss, and already he's got his Turkish boss out. For fuck's sake, man, you've been there about 4 days. I'll be real, that boss will last about 45 minutes, the way that Turkish supporters are. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Turkish football, and Michy Batshuayi might only last another 45 minutes too, because he is swapping Fenerbahce to move to sworn rivals and enemies Galatasaray. Not only that, but the guy's also played for Besiktas. Yeah, he's Kalas. He ain't making it through Istanbul. Fenerbahce fans are already throwing Turkish money at him, insinuating that's the only reason that he's gone. Now, elsewhere, and we've got the creation of a new sport, bull ball. What are you lot doing? You're asking to have your family tree uninstalled. Meanwhile, in Brazil, and with your side needing a goal to get back into a game, you need the perfect corner routine. Yeah, nah, these lot are done. The team that done it, by the way, have just finished their league campaign with no wins and no goals, so that really makes sense given this clip. Over in Uruguay, and Diego Forlan has taken up a new hobby. Well, I say a new hobby, it's actually kind of an old one. You see, when he was 16, the Uruguayan Jabulani hitting star actually had to decide between being a tennis player professionally or being a professional footballer. He chose football, obviously, had a very successful career in Spain, a slightly less successful career in England, but a great one for Uruguay. Well, at the age of 54, he's now decided to take on Uruguayan national tennis and is on a ridiculous run right now. I don't think he's actually lost a match yet, so he's on fire right now. Well, I mean, that's one way to distract your opponent. I mean, how about the longest and slowest penalty run-up you're ever gonna see?
Wat is dat denn? Ai.
In Brazil, a side called Veranópolis, their goalkeeper is not going to want to watch this clip back whatsoever. In Argentina and at Aldosivi, an absolutely mental brawl broke out involving substitutes, coaching staff, players that I think might have actually seen the game postponed for a little while. If there's one thing you can count on South American football to provide, it is just scraps all of the time. We move from Argentina to Indonesia though, because one forward here has decided to try and provide his own hand of God. In Japan, and Kazuyoshi Mayor, a Japanese legend, man that's played for the national team and played, well, pretty much everywhere in his career because he's so old and he's still going. He signed for a fourth-tier Japanese side at the age of 57 called Atletico Suzuka. In Sweden, and a game involving Torns IF was postponed for unlikely reasons because no linesman could be found for the second half. Meanwhile, there was more serious stuff going on in the Netherlands, as FC Twente were involved in a pre-season friendly where a tifo actually collapsed onto supporters over in the stand. Now, as far as I'm aware, reports are suggesting that 10 people were injured during this. But yeah, always just be safe, obviously, with tifos. They are kind of heavy. You got to make sure that they are stable. So hopefully a safe and speedy recovery for all of those involved. Now there is time for Still 0-0. You guys know the score by now. This is a segment of the show where I bring you the best of Sunday League and amateur football. And this time we're going into the Junior Sunday League category because we have got a goalkeeper here who needs to change position. I don't know what youth coach decided that little man over here should have been in between the sticks, but I want him to be a striker or a midfielder or a winger. Even a left back, honestly, will do, because he's put the ball down, charged through the entire opposition, and put the ball into the back of the net for a ridiculous solo goal. Take off the gloves and get up front, son. On to the weird stuff though now. Not such a weird story, but more an incredible one, really, where the Marshall Islands have been labelled really as the final nation in the world without a national football team. Well, that changed recently with the setting up of a football association and the release of their first ever home kit. They have announced they will be playing their first ever match soon, and we'll be keeping a close eye on them to see how they do. Over in Norway, and ahead of their European or continental clash, Bodo Glimt decided they wanted to send some scouts to Latvia to watch a side called RFS. Now, they play in the capital, which is Riga. However, by accident, these scouts ended up going and watching a different team. They also had the initials RFS, but they played down in the 4th division of Latvian football, which means it was a complete waste of time. And finally, over in Somalia. Of all the places, this might be the first time we've ever gone to Somalia, by the way. An under-17 player has decided that he's not going to be pursuing football at such a young age. What is the reason? Is he going off and pursuing a different sport? Is it a family situation? Well, no, not seemingly at first anyway. He is retiring so that he can get married. There's a lot to unpack here, but the fact that he's retiring from football to pursue a marriage also seems somewhat misguided. Clearly, he thought he'd found love and was ready to give up everything for it, only for reports to then come out afterwards that suggest that she may well have left him for another man. The only love you need is the love of the beautiful game, lad. I'm sorry to tell you. That, though, is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course, subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.